What is he doing? What is he doing? Okay, just wanted to welcome all. Please, first slide on the presentation.
Oh, I think that means it's straight over to me.
No,
no,
right? we need to go
okay.
into the first slide. Thank you, okay. Rachel.
Oh, you didn't open first, so I was like, oh, you've thrown me now.
Okay, perfect. We just wanted to welcome you all into the Black History Month Media and Communications event. This is the third year that we do this event. This event is developed, created, hosted, organized, should I say, by CAHN, the Caribbean and African Health Network. Natasha Peach, I'm the head of communications and marketing for CAHN. And this event is done in partnership with the Greater Manchester Combined Authority, which supports us throughout and has been very keen for us to celebrate Black History Month, not just a one-time celebration, but a celebration that is citywide, that is meaningful, and that has various items to it. And today we will be speaking about all of those. And I just wanted to say thank you all that are already on the call for joining us. We are very happy to have you with us and much to share with you throughout the event. I guess I'll start our event with our first speaker, Rachel Harley from the Greater Manchester Combined Authority. As I said, they are our partner in this venture. That is the Media and Communications event for Black History Month in Greater Manchester. So please, I'll pass it on to Rachel.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Rachel Harley. I'm head of content engagement at the GMCA, and so I've been working quite closely with Natasha and the team over the last couple of months in working towards this kind of event and leading up to Black History Month next month as well. First of all, it's brilliant to see so many of you on the call, 48 of you, which is brilliant. And also just want to say a quick thank you to CAHN for not only hosting today, but also all of the work that they've been doing over the last couple of months to get it into the place today. And I hope that today, in hosting this event, it kind of really shines a light on the commitment that not only the Mayor of Greater Manchester, Andy Burnham, has around amplifying Black voices across Greater Manchester, but also the wider GMCA as well. I know a lot of you on the call will be involved in a whole range of different things that we already work on as an organisation, whether it be the civic leadership programme or loads and loads of different of the work streams within our race equity framework. There's loads of stuff going on, and I hope that this kind of just reinforces our commitment to doing more and working with communities more and more in everything that we do in terms of policy making. And I think this next hour, hopefully, will be a really, really enjoyable, useful learning opportunity to see what we're doing, what other people are doing over the next kind of 6 weeks or so. But in terms of the wider piece of work that we're working with CAHN on, today is just the start of activity. We've obviously got the big launch next Thursday at Gorton Monastery, which I'm sure Natasha will pick up on later on, and the directory that's going to be going through in a lot of detail shortly. But I think that something around not only the session now, but all the activity coming up is really kind of testament to Greater Manchester and our commitment to collaborate and work together on things. And time and time again, we know that when we do that and we do it well, the outcomes are much better, both for ourselves as our own individual organisations, but also for the communities that we work with. So kind of yay to collaboration. And I think this is the start of a really good conversation, which is great. And I think that's about it. Natasha did say to me, can you talk for 5 minutes? And I said, I don't think I can. So I think I've whipped it up in about 3 minutes. So welcome everybody. Really glad to see everybody here. And here's to next hour of a really good conversation.
Thank you, Rachel. That is excellent. I think that mirrors very well the work we've been doing for the past few months, to be honest, years now. And I hope that is reflected on the items that we are creating, that this is the product of a partnership that is now going for a few years. We have asked everyone to please share with us on the chat where you're joining us from Greater Manchester. And if you are not from Greater Manchester, please do share as well. We are very much interested in hearing where you're joining us from, who do you work with, if you want to join your area of work. All of those things are very interesting, so please do share on this chat. I wanted to pass now on to my colleague, Samuel Locarenta is the Assistant Marketing Media Manager for our department, Communications and Marketing, and he has a lot to share with us.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for coming into today's session on amplifying Black voices here in Greater Manchester. And as Natasha said, we do appreciate everyone that's tuning in from outside Greater Manchester, and hopefully we amplify Black voices even further than the nation. Thank you. Next slide, please. Can you just go back one slide? Yeah, just one more slide. So yeah, I'll be talking to us briefly about the events directory. It's something that we've been working on for quite a while now. We did it last year, but this year I'm sure it's going to be even bigger and better. So the importance of the directory, I think you're wondering, what's an events directory? So it's just a fancy name for an event calendar. So an event calendar that houses all the events in Greater Manchester, dedicated to celebrating the Black History Month and the Black community. Why it's important to us? So it's important to us because, for example, now, let's say it's in the last 2-3 years, that's when really I started celebrating Black History Month, because there wasn't any buzz around Black History Month anywhere that I was before. In school, no one really, mentioned it. I think it did like one lesson or so in October about Black History Month. And to be honest with you, that's not enough. So coming together with CAHN and coming together with GMCA, we decided that we have to amplify Black History Month a bit more louder, a bit more excitingly, and really in the way that the community would appreciate how Black History Month is celebrated. Hence why we decided to come up with an events directory that houses all the events celebrating Black History Month in Greater Manchester. And it's important that we're doing this across Greater Manchester because, Manchester is very culturally diverse and it's very culturally rich. So people in Bolton need to have a location where they can, go as a dedicated place online to find out about these events and celebrate Black History Month. So on the screen now is just a little example of what the directory would look like. We'll be launching this website very soon, where you'll be able to access it and you'll be able to, upload your events or any events that that's going on between September, October, and November. We do know that some people start celebrating Black History Month a little bit earlier, which is perfectly fine. It just provides a bit more visibility for those events. Again, you are wondering how we are finding out about these events. So we are finding out these events through the help of pretty much everyone in the community. There's a dedicated QR code where you'd scan and you fill out the form. You put the event link on there, the name and contact information of those running the events, and then we'll populate that on a dedicated website where everyone can have access to improve and increase their visibility. And it's quite important that, everyone has the opportunity where they can say, oh, my event was on this website and I got so more people attending my event because of this. We did do this last year and we thought it worked really well. And we thought that, how can we make this a bit more better? So we wanted to focus on the branding to make sure that it's, in line with what Black History Month is being celebrated across GMCA. So you'd be able to see, the colors of red, orange, blue. You'd be able to see the branding is quite strong and quite persistent. So do look out for that when you go on the website. Could you just go to the next slide, please? So how to use the directory. As I said, it's very simple. You just scan this QR code. Please feel free to scan this QR code, fill out the form and submit the events that you think would be interested to the wider community celebrating Black History Month. There are a lot of events on there. There's a lot of events in Manchester, a lot of events in Bolton and Wigan. So we want to expand the reach and make sure that every single borough is captured. And we want to be able to do this with your support and your help. Next slide, please. So just as we are celebrating Black History Month across Greater Manchester, I want to give this opportunity to, just highlight a couple of the events that are going on within CAHN. On the 25th of September, we'll be launching Black History Month, the civic launch in Greater Manchester. That's taking place in Gorton. If you scan the QR code, you get more information and it's a free event, so please feel free to register. This event is happening from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. The doors will open at 6, where you'll be able to interact with the store holders. So we have a lot of community members that have their own businesses that they want to showcase, from small to large businesses to medium-sized businesses. So all are welcome. This is happening at the Gorton Monastery. If you know where that is, it's not too far from central Manchester. And yeah, it's a pre-event, so please do come down. And also we have the BHM Gala. We're going to just round up the celebration on the 11th of October, kind of mid-October, just to keep things going, just to celebrate Black History Month even more as a community, where we'll be honoring Black champions. So over the past 4 to 5 months, we've been getting a lot of submissions, people nominating people that have been working hard over the years, and some people haven't gotten the opportunity to be celebrated. So this will be the opportunity to be celebrated at the Black History Month Gala. So please feel free to scan the QR code to purchase a ticket. It's going to be from 6:30. There's going to be raffles. There's going to be a 3-course meal. There's going to be lots of dancing. And yeah, we're hoping that everyone is able to come down and celebrate the community champions here in Greater Manchester. Next slide, please. So just to quickly round off my short presentation, the reason why we are amplifying the directory is because we want to be able to, as I said multiple times, celebrate the Black community that's going on in Manchester and celebrate Black History Month in Manchester. We want to be able to learn about the various events and various organizations, again, across Greater Manchester. So we as a community can collaborate more powerfully and more accurately to amplify the work that everyone's doing, and just create a dedicated space where we can connect on a deeper level. And I just want to encourage you guys to share the link, share the QR code, or share the link to ensure that everyone has an opportunity to have their events amplified to a wider community. And we're hoping that this is achieved from this call and after the follow-up of this meeting. Next slide, please. Yeah, so thank you very much for listening, and hopefully I'm expecting to see more entries after this call with lots of events. And when the website is ready, please feel free to go to the website, register for these events and also attend these events. Most of them are free, some of them are paid, and some of them are just to, celebrate the Black culture that we all truly love. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sam. That was a brilliant presentation. There is a lot of work into the directory. We have all of your contacts, so we will be emailing you on the 25th of September, early morning, as soon as the directory is launched, with the link for the directory. And we hope that you help us spread the message regarding this directory, which the team has put a lot of effort on, but also community members that have, as Sam said, input their events, and we just want to spread the word, really. Now we are going to be graced by our next presenter, which is Keisha Thompson. She's going to present to us about a road to Pan-Africanism, and I'm really expecting to hear from her. Passing on to Keisha. Next slide, please.
Thank you. Hi everyone, good afternoon. So yeah, I am Keisha Thompson and my current role is Programme Manager with the Legacies of Enslavement programme, which is supported by the Scott Trust, which is the owner of the Guardian newspaper. So just to be clear at the top of this talk, I'm going to be talking about some of the stuff that's happening in the city linked to the Pan-African Congress, the fact that it's 80-year anniversary this year, but I am not an expert. I'm very aware of the people who are experts in the city, academics and people like that. But I'm just someone who has felt very passionate about this being a part of our Manchester history, and I feel that it's very much a part of my strategy and my work. So I felt that it was important for me to just say that and also just give you a bit of context in terms of what it is that I'm doing and why I'm talking about Pan-Africanism. So can I get the next slide, please? Yeah, so we can go again to the next one. Yeah, so basically 4 years ago, The Guardian did some research into their history. They wanted to see how they were founded. They were founded in Manchester just over 200 years ago. And it used to be called the Manchester Guardian. And when they commissioned that research, they found that they were very strictly linked to the cotton trade in the city, that their founder, John Edward Taylor, was actually a cotton merchant, and 9 out of the 11 financial backers were also using money from the cotton trade to set up the newspaper. So they issued this apology. They were very much about confronting this and putting it out into the public domain. And then they did a lot of really amazing work. Can we go to the next slide? That you would expect a media organisation, an editorial organisation to do. So if we could just chip over. Yeah, so some of the stuff that we've done so far has been very much editorial. We released this material called the Cotton Capital, which was in print and it's online. It's an ongoing website that you can link into. And there was also a podcast series. There were bursary schemes that were issued out, which was around getting more people into The Guardian. And they also employed over 7 journalists who were covering stories of global majority communities. Can we go to the next slide, please? Yeah, so this is just a bit more detail of a lot of the stuff that had happened off the back of that discovery and working with the researchers and their recommendations about what should be done next. There's also a really brilliant newsletter which is called The Long Wave, and if you're not signed up to that, I'd definitely encourage it. So it's really brilliant in that it covers a lot of topics linked to the history and identity and current issues around global majority communities. So we can go to the next slide. And the next one. Yeah, we don't need that one. Yeah, thank you. So the stuff that I just described is what you would expect The Guardian to do, but what they did was push themselves even further and go into the domain of restorative justice, which is where my role comes in. So they've set up a completely new team, committed quite a substantial budget, and committed to 10 years of restorative justice in Jamaica and in the Sea Islands, which is where our research linked us to some plantations specifically in those areas. But also they felt that it would be important to stick to their roots and make sure that they did some work in Manchester, because this is where The Guardian was founded, as I said. So my role is to think about what does restorative justice look like in Manchester. So for me, we can press the next thing, because I think it's just going to do a little animation around Pan-African Congress in that list. If you just click again. Yeah, so for me, just riffing off what Samuel was saying before, we could always stand to have Black history in Manchester more visible. We can always do more. And for me, I was like, well, it's the 80th anniversary of the Pan-African Congress. That needs to be showcased, because that is actually a demonstration of Black history. Too often we see things linked to the story of enslavement and that being pushed into this domain of Black history. And actually that's shared history. So we need more positive stories. We need to be thinking about things that have happened here that are really exciting, that are absolute demonstration of Black excellence. So that's where I've been coming from, and I've just been convening people that I know are doing stuff in the city or have already done stuff in the city to acknowledge this anniversary. So that's just what I'm going to talk about next. So before talking about what is happening this year, I think it's also important to talk about what's happened already. So if anyone doesn't know, the Congress happened on Oxford Road, and now it's a part of the Manchester Metropolitan University campus. And there's this plaque that went up for the 40th anniversary commemorating this. And it was set up by the Abercrombie women's group and some local historians, some really instrumental people in the city like Paula Koje, who is still active now. And yeah, so this was quite a significant time and a great way for the 40-year anniversary to be acknowledged. We can click forward. If we could just go to the next. Yeah. So, and if you go into the building, it's called the Grosvenor East. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It's right near All Saints Park. You can go in and there's this display up. So it is being acknowledged, but it's one of those where it's catch-22 in that you have to kind of know that it's there to go and see it. So it's not necessarily raising awareness, but it is great that the university is committed to acknowledging that history. Can we go to the next? Yeah. And there've been great events that have been put on by organisations like People's History Museum to acknowledge it. So we can just click through a bit here because I've just kind of thrown some stuff on this page just to give you a sense of the ways that it was acknowledged for the 50th anniversary, for the 70th anniversary, for the 75th anniversary. So if you just click through, whoever's controlling the slides. Yeah. So again, we have done a job. You can click through again. Oh, there's a bit of a delay. Yeah. So there's a conference that happened for the 70th anniversary that was really great. Click through again. There's been archival work done, interviewing people who were linked to the Congress. They might have been children of people who were there or they were there themselves. Again, you can click through. And yeah, for the 50th anniversary, a really big, exciting event happened at the Manchester Town Hall that went over a couple of days. It was a part of like a national acknowledgement of UK's connection to Africa, and Nelson Mandela apparently wired into this event, and it's just super exciting. So when I was doing my research, I was like, oh, okay, there have been moments where we have really shouted about this. Why isn't it still in the ether? Why is it that I didn't know about it still, as someone who actually is quite invested and has been for a long time as a young Mancunian, to know about my history, both locally and just, you know, globally in terms of like colonial history and things like that, and Pan-Africanism. I was like, why didn't I know that this Congress happened here? So can we go forward? So yeah, I was just really great to see that there was activity happening this year. I hope some of you got to see the show that was at the Royal Exchange. It was an absolute triumph, and it was written by Zodwa Nyoni, who's based at MMU, and directed by a wonderful director whose name has just escaped me. That's awful, but at least you can go on the website and check the credits. But yes, so this happened in the summer, and we can click through again. And there were smaller events that happened with like heritage partners. So this actually happened off the back of a convening event that I held earlier in the year, where some partners got together and they were like, yeah, we should just open our doors and let people know and see all the materials that we've got that are linked to the Congress happening here. So that was quite a successful event as well. So if we could just go to the next slide. As you can imagine, because the Congress actually happened in October, there's still a lot of stuff that people are wanting to do. If we can just go to the next slide, please. Oh, yeah, and we want to showcase that. So I've been speaking to Oxford Road Corridor about the fact that, you know, the Congress happened on Oxford Road, And they do have it on their timeline on their website. So if you go to the website, this is a page that lives there saying, you know, the Congress happened here. But what's been really lovely is they've been saying, do you know what, we're happy to do more. So if we just click over again, what they've now got is a page that's completely dedicated to the fact that the Congress happened on Oxford Road, and they've said that they really want to populate that with stuff that's going to be happening in October to acknowledge the anniversary, but then they want it to just be up there, a continuous page that really highlights anything to do with that history happening in the city, because as we know, it's not good enough for it to just be highlighted in October and then it be removed from our consciousness. It's something that we should just be talking about all the time, in the way that we talk about the suffragettes and we talk about the working class movement, the Chartists, just all the other bubbly, juicy things that we know about Manchester history. It should be up there. So they're really committed to that, which is lovely. And we worked with a designer who's from Manchester, is based in Bristol at the moment, to come up with this design. So if we can go to the next page. Stuff that I'm aware of, See My World Festival, they're going to be doing a lot of stuff next month. If we click through again, the People's History Museum, they've got an event coming up on my birthday, actually, on the 17th of October, but I've said I'll still be a part of it. I'll support. And afterwards, Gary Young is going to be doing an event linking to that. So that's going to be lovely. So that's on the 17th of October. So that's, you know, like a big heritage space, the People's History Museum. But then also, if we just click through, we've got some really nice smaller local events that are happening. So Holy Innocents Church, they're doing a great talk with a fabulous academic called Dr. Paris Carmichael Murphy. So there's going to be stuff happening all across the city. And another event, that's a closed event, but if we just click through, it's the Spirit of Manchester Awards. They've agreed to name all of their tables, their 35 tables, after one of the delegates of the Congress, and use that award ceremony to get people thinking about the anniversary as well. So there's loads of different partners, people that I've spoken to this year that have been really happy to jump on board and make this a visible part of our story. And there's more to come. And what I'd say is just make sure that you keep your eye on the Oxford Road Corridor group website, and then also CAHN will be sharing those events so that they're on all the platforms, so that it's just as big as possible. The last thing that I'd say is, I'm aware that Portico Library are doing stuff, Manchester Museum, the Ahmed Iqbal Ullah Centre have commissioned a walk. So there is stuff happening, and that's really exciting. And the last thing I'll say is, one of the things that I've really enjoyed is by doing these convening events with people, they've said, yeah, it's very much important that we acknowledge the anniversary, but it needs to be bigger than that. And we need to be thinking about, why did this Congress even happen? Why did it come here? And what were they trying to do? And, you know, the flurry of activity, the fact that the Congress then started to happen on the African continent after this event, it's all very significant, but that all took time. So I have managed to secure some funding from the Greater Manchester Combined Authority to set up a working group, a group of people who are going to be spending the next 4 or 5 months just thinking about how we can really embed this story into the narrative of Manchester, and then do something that feels very pragmatic and really supports what Pan-Africanism should mean for us in the city. So I hope that that's been insightful. And if you want to know any more, or you want to ask me any questions or tell me anything that you're aware of, then please do use that email that's up on the screen, and I'll hand back over. Thank you.
Thank you, Keisha. That was a brilliant presentation. I feel like in this short time of 10 minutes, you're able to take us from little pieces of history, particularly regarding the Pan-African Conference, the 5th Pan-African Conference, but also what's happening now in our city. And I was really happy to hear, although I already knew, but to know once more and to share with everyone that is on the call that regarding the working group, because this thing of truly embedding with authenticity and looking at sustainability of, Black narrative through the Pan-African Conference within our city's history and makeup is really, really important. So thank you for that. Without further ado, I wanted to, we have a very rich agenda today, and I wanted to thank everyone that joined now. We'll reshare the agenda on the group if you didn't have access to that. Yeah, so I just want to take a moment to thank everyone on the group. And now I just wanted to pass on to our next speaker, which we are so happy to welcome. Our next speaker is Melissa Sigordu. Melissa is a awarded journalist. She's a broadcaster, and she's also the founder of the Source newsletter, from which I'm a subscriber, proudly so, with loads of interesting stories, with a very interesting eye into the Black community. So I'd like to pass it on to Melissa.
Thank you so much for having me, Natasha, and also thanks to CAHN for having me come on your panel and just discuss Black history and Black storytelling. And yeah, thank you so much. Like Natasha said, I hope you can hear me okay. Like Natasha said, yes, I am a journalist. I also founded the Source newsletter, and I will get into how that came about and what the Source newsletter is. But I've worked for local news and national news, so I feel like I'm okay. I'm knowledgeable enough to come to you today and talk about diversifying Black stories. And you can go to the first slide. Also, thanks for putting my picture there. I was like, oh, I didn't even put a picture. Okay, so my slides are very, very minimal because I want us to be able to actually like imagine some of these things. I didn't want to put too much because I'll talk more than you'll actually think about the slides. So yeah, when we think about diversifying Black stories, I think that everybody's heard about diversifying the news, diversity. We hear about the term like diversity a lot, but we don't hear about how in diversity there is diversity. And I know that sounds kind of complicated, but that's what I'm here to talk about how there is diversity in Black storytelling. As a journalist who's been working in the industry for a few years, and also focusing on stories from ethnic minority communities, I've seen how Black stories from Asian communities, Arab communities are often underreported. You can go to the next slide. So yeah, I've observed this while working in the media, but what really made me take notice of how underreported Black stories are was when I actually went on maternity leave. So yeah, I went on maternity leave for about a year. And during that time, I think like, you know what, being a journalist is a bit of like some kind of really painful addiction, because when you're outside of it, you really, really miss the beat. You miss being on the field reporting. So that's what I was doing with my baby in my lap. I was there on Twitter scrolling. I was reading up on the news while I was in maternity leave. I never truly sort of left and relaxed. But while doing that, I was noticing like, oh, why aren't we talking about this story? Why aren't we talking about, there were so many stories that were coming out that were from the communities that I cover, including the Black community, where I felt like, why is nobody making more noise about this? Why isn't this reaching the mainstream where we're having a national discussion about the issues that are being raised in these stories? For example, there was one about women, well, one woman from Zimbabwe who was working here in the UK, but she wasn't allowed to bring her daughter over. I think the child was like 3 years old, and she wasn't allowed to bring her daughter over because the government was saying that you couldn't bring dependents. And when they asked, okay, but we have a legitimate reason for bringing this child, they were like, we can't see any reason for you to do that. And I remember everybody was pointing out like, she's the mother, that's a legitimate reason for her to be reunited with her child. But I realized that people were talking about it after I shared the story. But before that, it wasn't even really a talking point as far as I could see on social media. So from doing that, from seeing stories that I felt like weren't being amplified or weren't being discussed in the mainstream, I just kind of got into the pattern of like sharing these stories while I was on maternity leave. And it kind of grew into a thing where every week I would compile a list of stories that I felt nobody had seen, and I would put it in a thread on Twitter, which is now X. And those threads were sort of garnering traction. People were like, "Oh, I didn't even know this. I didn't even know this. Where was this story?" And it was just kind of getting a lot of traction from people online. So then I decided, you know what? I'm going to turn this into something, because clearly there's a need. People feel like they're not getting the news that they need to hear about. So I'm going to create a platform where people can get this sent right to their inbox. So you can go to the next slide. So yeah, this thread that I was doing on Twitter then became a weekly newsletter where I would recap all the stories that you probably didn't hear about from ethnic minority communities. And now it has over 1,000 subscribers. So I've been doing that for over a year now, where I started this, this platform. So it's grown to over 1,000 subscribers in counting. And during that time, I actually would get Black journalists and Black writers to do opinion pieces, because I thought, you know, what else can we add to this to kind of, you know, create a bit of a discussion around the stories that are in this newsletter. So I would get people to actually contribute opinion pieces. These were Black journalists as well, because anybody who's worked in media knows that there is a very small number of Black journalists, which is also part of the problem why I believe these stories are underreported. So I would get Black journalists to come and write opinion pieces. And then earlier this year, I left my role at the Mirror, and now I'm doing this full time. So I thought, you know what, why don't we even make it bigger than what it is? Let's actually have news from the Black community told on this platform. So then I decided, okay, I have plenty of friends, Black journalists who can write. They can come and write for the source. So that's also what's ended up happening, is that people, Black journalists are writing stories from the Black community and putting them in the source. And I say all that to say that because these stories are underreported in the first place, I decided that rather than just continuing to tweet about them or share them on social media, we actually need a place where people can see them all and to build that community. Because I think that the problem with the reason why these stories are underreported is because, number one, there's only a small number of Black journalists. And if we're being honest, diversity and representation really matters. If you're in an industry or a job where, I don't know, you're in healthcare, and we see this actually, you're in healthcare and the leadership team is predominantly male, you're going to see that issues affecting women are not going to be considered as highly as they would be if women were present. It's the same with the media. No matter how good journalists you have, if you don't have people from the Black community, the Asian community, the Arab community, who are invested in this type of storytelling, then you're not going to be able to produce as many stories as you would like that pertain to that community. I know that people might argue and say, no, but you know, white journalists can do it. Yes, they can. But also when you have Black journalists, you have people who are connected to those stories, who understand them, who understand the nuances that come with that community, and who can tell the stories in a different way to what somebody who doesn't have that knowledge would do. So that is part of the problem, not having that many Black journalists. I think it's like 1% in the UK are Black journalists. So that's also the problem why these stories are underreported. But also a lot of platforms don't have a Black audience. We only have one Black newspaper in the UK, which is the Voice newspaper. But otherwise, Black people don't really have a dedicated platform or a news site that caters to them. And unfortunately, the business model that exists in the media right now is that you want to get as many people clicking on your content. So you're going to create news that caters to the majority. You're not going to really be that bothered about the minority because they're not bringing you the revenue that you need to survive. So also that is a problem. But luckily, I'm not greedy. So I've created my platform, which is not just looking to get clicks. It's looking to bring quality. It's looking to actually build an audience that cares deeply about these stories and wants to be seen. You can go to the next slide. So yeah, after starting The Source, and actually after now producing independent journalism and Black stories, by doing this, I also wanted to sort of tell more stories that show our humanity. Because what I found in my experience and also just observing the media landscape is that there tend to be very sort of like one-dimensional stories about Black people. You either get, you know, the criminality side. I remember when I first joined this local news site to be a reporter, one of the things the editor asked me was, what if there was anything you could change about this website, what would you change? And I remember I told him, I was like, this website is supposed to be about London, but I would say 90% of your website is stories involving Black people committing crimes. Like, are these the only stories that you can tell? And so that's why I think it's important to tell stories that show the diversity of Black people. So if you look at this slide, you'll see for The Source, we did a story about this award-winning ballet company that is dedicated to producing Black and Asian dancers and how they were looking for funding so that they could continue their work. You don't really hear about that in the media. And also there was another story that we did, which was about a Black British guy who launched a dodgeball event. I don't know if any of you have ever played dodgeball, but this is also something that you wouldn't really kind of associate with the Black community. But these are things that are happening, and it's up to people who really care about the community to go there and to find those stories and to tell them. You can go to the next slide. So one thing I also noticed observed while I was working in the media is that even sometimes Black people will come up to me and be like, oh, Melissa, stop telling negative stories. And I'd be like, what? But it's like they felt that if I was telling a story about maternal health, because maternal health is a big issue affecting Black women. Currently, I think it's 2.9, Black women are 2.9 times more likely to die during childbirth and a year after. And these are the stories that I was telling. And it was at a health event, one woman came up to me and she was like, yeah, but can you tell some positive stories from the Black community? And I was like, I did. I had told a story about a midwife who had, she had just turned 100 years old and she had delivered like thousands of children, including one paramedic who came to help her because she essentially, she thought she was dying and he realized that she had delivered him. But yeah, I was like, I have written positive stories, but I think because of what is on offer as far as Black storytelling is that you either get good or you get bad. And I think that's a terrible place to be. And I feel like I've even been told in the newsroom, like, we need more positive stories, Melissa. And it's like, yeah, but Black people shouldn't be forced to either have positive stories or negative stories. You would never ever think of white people being told, oh, can you do more positive stories about white people? You wouldn't, because white people are afforded the complexity of humanity. You know, you're afforded to have a story about injustice, about romance, about crime, about so many different things. But whereas when it comes to the Black community, it's like, no, we want either a good story or a bad story. And honestly, it cannot be like that. We need to have everything. And I don't think it's about stopping to tell negative stories. I think it's about telling more stories in general. So when I hear that, I'm like, you know what, we're gonna have this conversation. I thought I'll put that in the slide. And the beautiful thing about the landscape now, I know that obviously print media is dying, online journalism with the development of AI, that's making things really difficult because obviously AI is just like hoovering up all the traffic. But I think the beauty in that is that social media is allowing us to tell more stories. I have genuinely, like, as much as I hate social media, I also appreciate what it's allowed me to do. As I said at the beginning of this talk, is that I started by sharing the stories that I felt weren't being amplified enough on social media. I don't know how the algorithms allowed it, but you know, they did on Elon Musk's algorithm. Somehow it's still working for me. I have no idea how, but it's still working. But as well as places like Twitter, you have Instagram, you have TikTok. I've been able to use social media to tell those stories. So for The Source, I did a story about a man called Terrell Thompson. He had come to the UK on holiday from Barbados, and unfortunately he was stabbed by a British soldier, actually, while he was out at a bar in an unprovoked attack. And his mum was trying to get money to basically get him surgery because he survived. He miraculously survived this attack. And his family wanted to get funds so that he could have surgery because he's not a British citizen. So on the NHS, he has to pay. And that's like thousands of pounds. So I'd spoken to his mum and wrote the story. But I saw the switch in how people took in the story by the way that I told it on TikTok, because obviously it's a visual medium. So on TikTok, I created a video of Terrell sort of learning how to walk again. And this video was going viral on TikTok. And some of that virality, if you want to call it that, was leading to people donating money to his GoFundMe. And as a result, he's been able to raise money to get the surgery, to pay the deposit for the surgery that he needs. So social media has been able to do that. And funnily enough, I think the BBC did his story last year when it happened. But I think that's the difference. When you care about a story, you go the extra mile to tell the story. And you can use social media to allow you to tell the story in a new way, in a way that's more captivating to audiences. So, oh yeah, you can go back. I think there was one more point. Oh yeah, so it allows you to tell stories in a different way, but it also allows you to amplify stories. My platform, it's I have help from contributing journalists, friends of mine who I know who work in the field, but most of the time it's a one-woman show. So I really have to use all my resources, and social media is a huge resource for me. But as well as being able to amplify in social media and to tell stories in different ways, it also allows you to find stories on social media because everybody is essentially putting their story out there. So there's really no excuse for anyone who works in the media to go, we can't find stories from the Black community, because the Black community is literally putting itself out there and saying, here I am, I've got a story to tell, and you can reach out to me, and people are more than happy to tell their stories because that's why they put them out there in the first place. So yeah, I am just hoovering up all the resources, hoovering up all the social media to tell more Black stories because yeah, I couldn't sort of like sit with the idea that stories can only be told in one way, either negative or positive. That's just not who we are as human beings. If other communities can be afforded to have that complexity of storytelling, that diversity of storytelling, then the Black community absolutely should be allowed to have the same. So yeah, the next slide is where that's my my platform, The Source. I'm also going to put it in the group chat so that you can also find it there. In fact, I'll do that when we carry on with the rest of the talk. But yeah, thank you so much for listening. I hope that you can take something away from this. And yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. We definitely did. I took away this thing of a complexity of humanity is so true, and which sometimes we feel it's not guaranteed to us, or is not seen in Black people many times. It's interesting in the work that we do in CAHN. I personally believe, this is a personal belief, please don't take note, in terms of Black people engaging with research tends to be, I feel like part of the issue is people the community doesn't trust the researchers, medical health system, sees them in the complexity of what makes them, and therefore by not feeling like their humanity is not seen, they ended up not engaging. It's really, really, really deep. But thank you so much for that talk. It was absolutely brilliant. It was great to hear about your career and how you have in your way and with your platforms trying to unite other journalists and try to change that narrative, and not just trying but achieving. Thank you for that, Melissa. Melissa's source is on the chat if you want to access and get to know more. I presented myself just earlier. I am and my name is on the chat. I'm Natasha. We can go into the next slide. I'm going to be sharing on a very fun piece of work that we've been doing for the second time this year. So yeah, it's evolved and developed. We are doing the Black History Month Black Leaders Toolkit. And this is the 2025 edition. It celebrates 4 Black leaders from Greater Manchester, just like it did last year. But every year we intend to celebrate a new set of people, because there's loads of people that have done great things in Greater Manchester in the past and present. Next slide. So the Black History Month Greater Manchester, the Black Leaders Toolkit, what have we created? We have done a comprehensive toolkit that represents 4 leaders. All of them have a deep connection with Greater Manchester. Either they were born here, or they've lived most of their life here, or have done most of their life's work here, or are working currently in Greater Manchester. This is ready to use for anyone in the community, organizations, as you wish to use it. Will be launched on the domain that is on the page, bhmgreatermanchester.com, on the 25th of September. As I said, you will be the first to receive it once it's live via email. We'll email all of you that are on this call. You can see on the slide the first, it's fun because thank you. This is the cover, and those are the 4 leaders, and I'll go into more detail of who they are in a second. Thank you. Next slide. As I said, it will be available on this domain. This is a preview of how the page looks. Basically, anyone can access the page. Click here, we'll have access to a series of items that are part of this toolkit. Next slide, please. Why this toolkit matters. I feel like a lot of this has already been touched during the presentation today. It's all about visibility, and it is about celebration in a meaningful way. We want to highlight people that have done extraordinary work in our city, work, many of them that has expanded beyond the walls of our city. We want to fill some of the gaps that exist in terms of the festivities of Black History Month, raise that profile year on year since 2023, when Black History Month became a civic event for Greater Manchester. So this is a civic event. Our Mayor, Andy Berman, has taken that step, from which we are very grateful. Not just saying it's a civic event, but also partnering with organizations to celebrate this month, should I say. So action there. These resources are educational, bite-sized, and very easy to use. Yes, that's fine. You can go to the next slide. These are the 4 leaders that were selected this year. Was Sharon Amesu. She has a big background working in criminal justice, also a lot to do with leadership, mentorship, really phenomenal person. While they all are, we have a Reverend Francis Davis Tago that has worked extensively in the third sector in Manchester, and also a big faith leader, and she carries the flag of Caribbean culture everywhere she goes. And we're very happy to have her working with CAHN and throughout our city. We have Sir Arthur Lewis. He was the first Black Nobel Prize in economics, and he has lived his entire life in Greater Manchester. So we need to know more about him. And obviously, Professor David Olusoga is from the university. He's working now in the University of Manchester as a historian, history professor, but obviously is a very known broadcaster and also writer. What does the toolkit encapsulate? It has short biographies of all of them. He has the leaders' portraits that you kind of had a sneak peek just before. He has did you know graphics, so little quick inspirational facts about them. He has quote cards, he has video content, and also has text to go with this content. So just grab and go, copy paste, and use it. Thank you. We can go into the next slide. How this came about is through partnership and research. So it was supported by our partner, GMCA, of course. There's been several months of research and conversations regarding this with CAHN staff, with CAHN service users. We also have the Greater Manchester BHM stakeholders group that we put together. So items such as the this toolkit and also the Civic Lounge event and also the directory are informed by multiple voices, and we can capture some of the diversity of Greater Manchester. We completely acknowledge that more can be done. I would like next year to do a citywide consultation before doing anything of this. This is my dream and objective, and if it's mine, is also CAHN's. But we need to. There is resource limitations, and we have put everything we could into this. We can go into the next slide. Sorry, back. I think that was another one. No, it might be everything. I wanted to share a quick Mentimeter. Apologies, we're about 10 minutes behind. If anyone has to leave, we completely understand. But we wanted to just do a quick Mentimeter. And by the way, anyone that leaves now, we will be sending an email with all the resources and everything that you need from this event. Let me just share with you the Mentimeter link 1 second. It's already on the chat. Thank you so much, Oiza. Hope you all can access this Mentimeter. And the first question is around what are your biggest hopes for amplifying and celebrating Black voices in 2025? Please, any of your hopes and dreams, what would you like to see? I have big aspirations in terms of politically. I would really like for us to go back or at least move forward into a more peaceful time where people don't feel like certain stances are okay that harm others or make feel others unwelcomed in this country and therefore this city. Increased representation, thank you so much. Increased equity of access, thank you. We'd also like to see a decrease of health inequalities. I'm sure I can say that for all CAHN colleagues. We have about 13 people on the Mentimeter. It would be lovely to see a few more answers for your hopes for amplifying Black voices in 2026. Thank you. Fairness, big one, big one. Thank you so much. Historic achievements. Diverse stories. That really connects to what Melissa just shared with us. The Black hair products, true, the owned by Black people would be great. So we continue to enrich the Black economy as well. Authenticity. Thank you. A lot of these things you will find in the source. Positive news, diverse stories, it's there. Thank you. Wonderful. Listening and learning, health awareness. Thank you. That's brilliant. I'm going to pass into the next one. The next Mentimeter question is regarding the toolkit. I've shared it briefly, but I wonder, do you have any thoughts that you'd like to share with us? Obviously, you have 4 leaders. Even if you have names for next year, you can drop it on the page. We'll be very happy to then research into those names, the background and everything else. Any thoughts that you'd like to share on the Black Leaders Toolkit? Do you think you'll be able to use it? and so on and so forth. Surely do hope so. Any videos to support? Yes, there are. Thank you for sharing it on socials. I'll even share a little sample of the video. How senior people have to be leaders. No seniority depends on what achievements they have made, not just for their own benefit, but also the benefit of others and the wider community. So it could be anyone really. Last year we had youth leaders, but this year we although we made a wide consultation, we didn't find any referrals for youth leaders. So hopefully next year. We have 9 answers. Thank you so much. Yes. Thank you for the idea. It's true. It can be used for educational purposes. That's very true. Thank you so much. Please, the Metimeter will be available for the next 2 days, so you can always drop your answers. But thank you, as you can see, thank you for the positive feedback, but also constructive ideas. I'll very much take them on board. Just 1 second.
Sharon spent 16 years as a criminal barrister before discovering her true calling. She traded her court gown for something even more powerful, the ability to transform leaders. Now running her own consultancy and serving as chair of Manchester's Institute of Directors, Sharon helps leaders find their courage and create cultures where everyone can thrive. Because real leadership isn't about the title on your door. It's about the lives you lift up.
So yeah, that's just a short sample. I hope you like that sample and you find it useful. Please, if you have any comments or questions, if you could start dropping them in the chat. I wanted to pass it on to Charles for a quick note from CAHN. Is our chief executive, Charles Kwakodori. Meanwhile, if anyone has any points they would like to raise in the open discussion, which will be around 5 minutes, would you like to put your hand up if anyone wants to do a verbal comment? I don't see any hands up, therefore I'll pass it on to Charles. Please, if you could share the slide for Charles as well, that would be great. Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Natasha, and thanks to colleagues for putting this together. You know, incredibly grateful to our guest speakers, Keisha, to Melissa, and to all. But also want to thank the Mayor of Greater Manchester, our King of the North, for, you know, his partnership and his commitment to, you know, raising the profile of our stories, our shared, you know, history and where we are, but more importantly, where we want to get to. So please, 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 I know I'm conscious of time. Just want to encourage you all, look out, you know, visit the web page that has been designed specifically for Black History Month. Share some positive stories. Let's remember what happened 80 years ago and how that led to various nations around Africa becoming independent and breaking away from colonialism, and be inspired and motivated by that as well. And, the final thing is, yes, on the 11th of October, we do have a gala, Black History Month gala. And I will not be shy to encourage you, to get a ticket, get a table, bring along some friends, and let's celebrate. So thank you, everyone. Please share our stories and be inspired from all you've heard from our guest speakers, but also, the support we've had from the Greater Manchester Combined Authority. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.
Thank you all for attending today. I know the open discussion time was cut and short, but we're really open to receive any questions, any input from yourselves. We have dropped in the chat. For more information, you contact us at bhm.can.org.uk. This event will always be available in our YouTube. Therefore, you can just access the restream on the YouTube link shared. And as well as the early download of the media toolkit is also the link there. Is not on the webpage, but because you are so brilliant attending, we have dropped the WeTransfer link there if anyone wants to access it now. Once more, thank you for attending. Thank you for the work that you do in your various spaces. Thank you for spreading the word. And thank you for uplifting the Black community, to all the Black community, and also to our allies and supporters and partners. Thank you so much. And we hope to see you soon.
Thank you so much.